Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. We are students of University Technology Petronas have conducted a research regarding the studies of climate change effect on food securities in Malaysia.
And for the introduction, all economic sectors are at risk from climate change, but those relying on natural resources are particularly vulnerable. One of Malaysia's most productive businesses is the rice sector. And next is the numerous empirical research has examined the effects of climate change on rice production using various models. And lastly, policymakers and scholars have used the SD methodology and extensively to perform experiments linked to policy. And moving on to the literature review, so this study aims to objectively analyze these concerns for Malaysia, and also the study aims to analyze the short and long-term effects of the likely change in temperature and rainfall. And lastly, based on the findings of the system dynamics, it was anticipated that a decrease in rice production would result in a decrease in farmers' gross income.
Hello and a very good day, everyone. I am Ainu Najha and I'm going to present my part. Now, for the problem statement, the first one is extreme weather events such as droughts and floods are occurring more frequently because of the climate changes. This has a detrimental effect on agricultural development and yields. Second, increasing air temperatures from climate change have a negative impact on agricultural output because heat stress reduces the best possible level productivity for agriculture. Third, climate changes are also affecting other areas of crop productivity. These include changes in biodiversity and even increases in pest and disease. We have prepared 5 research questions. The first one is, what is the primary reason for how climate change affects food security around the world? Second question, how does climate change undermine food security in terms of access, availability, use, and stability? Third, how do climate changes affect on food security, affecting the economy and society? Fourth question, how can the current system of food production be improved to halt future climate change? And the last question, in the context of climate change, what are the responses to preserve food security and a proper nutrition?
Okay, so hi sir and hello everyone. My name is Alice Fatia binti Tajwarifin, currently taking petroleum engineering in second year, second semester. So today I would like to explain about my part, which is objective. So the objective that we want to achieve in this project is to investigate the effect of climate change on food availability and accessibility. The second one is to study the relationship between climate change and food security. And the third one is to research on how to lessen the effect of climate change on food security. Okay, for the next part, which is the hypothesis. Okay, for the next part, which is the hypothesis, we break the hypothesis into two, which is the general hypothesis and the overall hypothesis. Okay, so for the general hypothesis, the first one is what will happen to food availability and accessibility if climate change frequently happen. So the hypothesis is the frequent climate change happen, the lower the amount of food availability and accessibility. The second one is what will happen to economies if climate change situation is worsened. So the hypothesis is economies will slowly collapse as there is no food supply within the country. Okay, so the overall hypothesis of this project is the higher the number of extreme weather event happen, which is the climate change, the lower the amount of food availability and accessibility, the worsen the effect on food security. So for the next part, I will pass to my colleagues. Thank you.
Hello, I am Melanie Charles from Petroleum Engineering. For my part, I will explain about the significant studies of the research. Firstly, these studies aim to do an in-depth empirical analysis of these concerns in Malaysia by drawing on data collection from previously conducted research, online sources, and respondents. Furthermore, this study also aims to analyze how climatic and non-climatic factors interact to affect food securities in Malaysia. Moreover, this study is to address that the productivity and profitability of agriculture in Malaysia have taken a hit in recent years due to climate change phenomena like natural disaster, droughts, floods, pest attacks, and plant disease. For the next part, which is research methodology, the method used in this research is quantitative method, which is based on the statistical analysis of numerical data gathered by means of instruments like polls and surveys. We also use Google survey forms because online surveys are faster in data collections compared to printed survey. For the questionnaires, the questions in the survey questionnaires are used to see their awareness in the change that brought by climate change toward the food security. We collected data for the secondary research as we analyzed relevant journals and collected more related information from the internet. The respondent of the studies consists of 40 university students, the range of 18 to 35 years old, and consists of foundation, undergraduate, and postgraduate students.
As we can see in the diagram, it shows the age range for all the respondents. As we can see, majority of the respondents is between the age 18 to 24, which is 20 respondents with a total of 50%. The second highest is age 25 to 29 with a total of 9 respondents with percentage 22.5. Next is 30 to 35 with only 5 respondents at percentage of 12.5. And meanwhile, age below 18 with a minimum of 4 respondents which only equals to 10%. And lastly, with 2 respondents only, age above 35 which only covers 5% of the data. In this section, we want to find out the awareness of our respondents regarding the climate change issue in Malaysia to make sure they understand why it is happening. Based on our findings, majority of our respondents with a total of 38 respondents, which equals to 95%, answered yes, which meant people in Malaysia were very aware of the climate change issue. And only 2 of the respondents answered no, which only contained 5% people from the pie chart data that are not aware. In conclusion, most of our respondents are very aware of the climate change issue, which is a pleasant news for us. We also asked a yes or no question regarding the respondents if they were aware about the impact that climate change can bring to the Malaysian economy through agricultural sector. This was to determine if the respondents were aware of the Malaysian economy towards food security issue that has been spread in the news channels and social media nowadays. As you can see, a total of 30 respondents chose yes, which means that 75% of them from the data agree that climate change can bring impact on the agriculture sector while affecting the economy in Malaysia. However, there were 10 respondents who answered no, which means 25% of the respondents from the data were not aware regarding. The diagram above shows the demography which is based on the location of the respondents. In the survey, we already stated 6 impacts that respondents can choose based on what climate change affected their living area. Well, out of 40 respondents, majority chose flooding at a total of 24 respondents, which covers 60% of the data. Next is extreme weather with 22 respondents out of 40 covering only 55%. However, for option water scarcity and catastrophic storm ties at the third place with a total of 11 respondents, each with percentage 27.5% of the data. The option for drought comes next with a total of 5 respondents with a percentage of 12.5. The least number of respondents come from the answer option severe fire with only 3 respondents, each covering 7.5% of the data that are aware regarding what climate change that can affect their living area. We have asked our respondents whether they are aware that if climate change is currently one of the most challenging threats that the world is facing. According to the graph above, 21 respondents rated 5, implying that they are aware that climate change is currently one of the most challenging threats that the world is facing. Aside from that, 4 out of 40 respondents with a total of 10% rated 3, which suggests that they are not really aware and they lack knowledge about climate change.
Hi, I'm Alpha Fatah. Now let's move on to another section, Section C, which is questionnaire using the scale of awareness or acceptance, which was from 1 to 5. 1 being not aware at all, and 5 being very aware. For the first question, this section includes the hypothesis of our respondent regarding the issue of decreasing in rice production. It will also result in farmers' gross income decrease. According our finding, the majority of our respondent with the total of 22 with 55% answer 5, which mean very aware. There is only one of the respondent answer the third option, which mean neutral. In conclusion, most our respondents are very aware of the decrease in rice production that can result in farmers' gross income decrease, issue which is not a pleasant news. For the next question, it was to determine the observation of the respondent regarding the food security in sufficient quantity during climate change phase. The scale of acceptance was from 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree. According to the finding, the majority of the respondent at the total of 25 respondents with 62.5% answer 5, which means strongly agree, while none of the respondents answer option 1, which means strongly disagree. This conclude most of our respondents are strongly agree that food security will be facing insufficient quantity during climate change phase, which is very bad news. On the next survey question, we asked the respondent observation about the risk of hunger under the most extreme scenarios regarding the impacts of climate change. Based on the finding, most extreme scenarios regarding the risk of people under hunger due to climate change are happen during a night time. There were 26 respondents at the percentage of 65% choose 5, which means strongly agree with the statement. Another 10 respondents choose option 4, which means agree, covering 25% said the risk of hunger happened during daytime. Next, this question includes the hypothesis of our respondents regarding the issue of a short-term and long-term effect on food security due to climate change phase. Based on our finding, the majority of our 21 respondents with 52.5% answer 5, which means very aware. Lastly, for the option 2 and 1 ties at the fourth place with the total of 3 respondents, each percentage of 7.5% on the pie chart data. In conclusion, some of the respondents are very aware of the short-term and long-term effect on food security due to the climate change issue, which is a pleasant news. For the last survey question, we asked for respondent observation regarding the government subsidies and restriction either that can affect in decreasing of domestic production of rice on paddy production or not. Based on the findings, there are 19 respondents who strongly agree, which are option 5 with the 47.5% of the data. Another 17 respondents choose option 4, covering 42.5% of the data agree that government subsidies and restriction can affect in decreasing of domestic production of rice on paddy field. There are no respondents that choose strongly disagree with the statement. This can be concluded that the hypothesis is true by saying that the government play a big role in increasing and decreasing domestic production of rice on paddy field productions.
Globally, climate change contributes to higher temperatures, water scarcity, droughts, floods, and increased carbon dioxide concentrations in the atmosphere, which negatively affects staple crops and at the same time causing the food insecurities across the nation. Hence, we provided 3 suggestions. First, we must address the causes of climate change, particularly at governmental and policy levels, if we want to eradicate famine. Second, to help the populations that are experiencing the crisis firsthand and who frequently make very little contribution to greenhouse gas emissions, we must prioritize climate justice. And the last one, we must also expedite national and international response while upholding our obligations. No matter where we reside, this is a difficult task that will have an impact on all of our life. With that, thank you.